This week, we are talking about soul contracts. And they're those invisible agreements that we made before we came into this body, into this lifetime, before we were incarnated. And these soul contracts were made from love. And they were made to really support our soul's growth and our soul's evolution. And of course, whilst they may not have always felt very loving or even reflected the kind of love that we deeply longed for, they are sacred contracts nonetheless. And so this week's Harmonic Pulse feels like an exhale, maybe where we've spent like years, maybe even lifetimes, trying to help the ones that we love to awaken. Okay. And, we've been just met with resistance or rejection, silence, and just their choice to stay in their comfort zone, stay cycling in familiar patterns. And so it may also feel like a breath of release and perhaps even a breath of relief. Because sometimes, the very people that hurt us the most were also playing a role that we actually asked them to. And that role was to, as I said at the beginning, to help our soul grow. So they were to help shape us, to help to mirror us, and to really challenge us to step into our highest version of ourselves. And that would often be at the expense of them traveling with us. Maybe they were not able to walk the full path with us. And so these are often the ones who we come into our family with. So it could be our parents, our brothers and sisters. And, you know, the pain we experience may have been from just emotional or physical absence. Maybe a parent wasn't able to give us the emotional presence that we really needed. Maybe we were always in battles or conflict with our siblings, and we just felt dismissed and not really seen. And overall, just this kind of general feeling of not feeling, deeply cherished and nurtured. Yet within all of this, it also carries a encoded invitation. And, I'm speaking into this now because, sometimes it can take many years for us to see it clearly. And that's certainly how it played out for me. And so, some examples might be where it just felt like people were resisting us all the time. We were just in this kind of battle. It may have actually been a misunderstanding of love, perhaps where we constantly felt rejected. It may have actually been protecting us from a deeper kind of enmeshment. And these patterns that maybe we start to see play out in our family lineages, perhaps it was just showing us that these were not ours to carry forward on our path. And so these are some of the things that I've been moving through lately, and that's brought up layers of grief and also grace. Grace in finally accepting that these soul contracts have come to an end. And acknowledging that maybe I spent years trying to free family, trying to offer them tools, insights, and compassion, and they just weren't able to receive it um, in the way that I intended. And so, what that's shown me is that we just can't awaken we can't wake other people up. None of us can. It's really got to be a choice that we each make ourselves. It's a choice that we make from within. And so, I've started to realize that this is actually part of the liberation journey, awakening to true freedom. When we realize that we're not responsible for others' choices, when we can let go of perhaps feeling over responsible for other, especially our family members, and allowing them their own choices, even when it feels difficult, when it feels hard, because each time we choose to honor their path, It's actually again a reflection of love. And this is especially important at this time because we're moving through this deep planetary shift. And so it's really inviting us to acknowledge that whilst we're in this planetary shift, that we cannot take everyone with us. Not everyone is going to choose to deconstruct their programming. And not everyone is ready to see beyond, the roles that they have identified with. And that, these are survival roles, really, keeping them in that survival pattern. And so, it is a sacred task because we are being asked to honor that whilst also staying true to our own path, not abandoning ourselves when perhaps that was our core wound, feelings of abandonment because others couldn't meet us where we were. They couldn't offer us that presence that we really, really longed for. And so, as these two worlds diverge, well, some will continue looping in these unconscious cycles, and where others of us are opening to the new earth energies, which is really, in my view, an Edenic remembrance. It's remembering the Garden of Eden before the distortion. And so at this time, it's key because many of us are being asked to really gently untangle from those enmeshments so that we can walk forward on our own true path. And so whilst it's perhaps tender, difficult, these things are not easy, we're being asked to really find the beauty in the bittersweet. We're being asked to find that grace in letting go gracefully. And we're being asked to really dig deep and find compassion, even when we never heard the words that we long to hear spoken. Um, and, as I've reflected on this, perhaps this is really what it means to love, okay? To be able to feel everything, to feel the ache, to feel the yearning, and still keep our hearts open. Because it's during these difficult times, these most painful times, that it becomes easy to close down, to close our hearts down. But actually, what we're really doing when we do that is we're closing off to our soul, to our source alignment, to our source connection. And so, this week's resonance note is to really remind you that to walk forward with our hearts still open is not betraying our family. It's not betrayal, essentially. It's not betrayal. It's actually liberation. It's awakening to our own freedom. And it's also offering that act of grace to be able to say, thank you. Thank you for the role that you played in my story. And now I can walk forward and release us both. We're not bound anymore, playing out these repetitive cycles, these painful cycles. And so if you find yourself standing at your own fork in the road, and you're perhaps recognizing that these soul contracts have completed or coming to completion, but your heart's still tender, there's still that ache lingering, then if you are looking for support, then I invite you to check out my offerings, my soul sovereignty offerings. I'll drop the link to my website below. And if you just want to browse and read some insights and guidance that I share regularly on my Substack platform, which really have come from my own lived experience to support awakening souls, then you're also welcome to read through those, to look through those. And I want you to know that you're not alone. We're all going through various stages of the awakening journey, and there's always support out there. And to reach out, don't feel like you have to struggle through it alone. And so I really hope that this message today meets you where you are and offers you some comfort. And do reach out if it feels aligned. I'll see you next week.